Well, welcome to week 4 class. This is going to be chapter 5 that we're talking about this week. Dr. Nemecek here with your weekly presentation that will kind of gloss over all the information that you're going to read about in chapter 5. And in the previous chapters, I spent the last 2 weeks talking about doing an analysis of the environment internally and externally from the organization to try to determine what direction we're going to head relative to putting our strategic plan on paper. So this week we're going to actually talk about what is referred to in the textbook as directional strategies. Now there are 8 learning objectives that the authors of our text want us to be aware of, and let's talk about what those are. The first one is be able to understand the roles and relationships among organizational mission, vision, values, and strategic goals, and why they are called directional strategies. And I know that in many of your other courses you've already talked about what a mission, vision, and values are, and you've talked about strategic goals to a limited degree. So we're going to kind of pare this information down to directional strategies that will help us determine what those mission, vision, and values are going to be. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on talking about strategic goals in this particular chapter, even though there is information in the text. I want you to go ahead and read that for yourself. So I'm just going to focus my attention in this video on the mission, vision, and values. Your number 2 objective is be able to recognize the important characteristics and components of organizational mission statements and be able to write a mission statement. Number 3, be able to recognize the important characteristics and components of vision and be able to write an organizational vision statement. 4, recognize the important characteristics and components and be able to write a value statement. So there again, we're talking about being able to recognize and be able to actually do a mission statement, a vision statement, and a value statement. And again, the focus of this chapter. Learning objective 5, recognize the important characteristic and components and be able to write strategic goals. Again, I'm not going to talk about that in this video. I want you to read about them in chapter 5. Be able to identify service category critical success factors. Things that are going to help you to be successful when you put them in your strategic plan that are important to providing goods and services as part of a healthcare organization. Be able to identify those and recognize which ones are critical to your success as opposed to those that are maybe not so important, just nice to have type things. Number 7, be able to develop a set of strategic goals that contribute to the mission, move the organization toward the realization of its vision, and is consistent with the organization's values. And last, number 8, be able to recognize the important issues in the governance of healthcare organizations and the role of the board of directors in maintaining policy-making direction. I think that information is probably not going to be new to any of you because we talk about board governance and healthcare administration courses right from the very beginning and try to hone in on the importance of how these individuals really are the people that are calling the shots relative to controlling health care organizations. So spend some time reading about those and just kind of gloss over that, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this video. So again, in developing a strategy to put on paper, that is going to be a key element to determining what your strategic direction is going to be. We have to have directional strategies, and that's going to be provided by leadership. And again, in your textbook, they offer some really good exhibits for you to look at. One of them there early on in chapter 5 is called Develop a Strategy, where we talk about the external environment, the internal environment, which we discussed the previous 2 weeks to this. And in the middle is the directional strategies of the leadership area that's pointing down, which tells us that this is what we want to do. Now remember that the external environment, when we are analyzing that, helps us to determine what we should do. The internal environment, when we analyze that, tells us what we can do. But our directional strategies provided by leadership and gives us the strategy of the organization after we know what those 2 things are, is the leadership tells us this is the strategy that I want you to follow. In other words, the direction I want you to take. So directional strategies give an organization its identity. It represents who we are, where we are going, and how we work. So for example, if we are going to write a mission, vision, or value statement, a mission should be a clear articulation of what the organization currently does. The vision statement should be an articulation of the organization's collective hope for the future. And our value statement should be a description of the behavioral norms, beliefs, and ideals that are important to the organization. So in essence, the mission, vision, and values of an organization are central to the strategic planning process. All the strategies and goals must support these directional strategies. Now, obviously, the reason that we're doing this is because we want to better our chances of being successful in the future. We want to be profitable, and by being profitable, we have to be able to provide our target audience, the people that we are providing healthcare goods and services to, products, goods, and services. The outcomes that we develop as far as strategic directional strategies is concerned should be something like this. We want to be able to reach consensus and document what the organization currently does. We want to be able to reach consensus and document the collective hope for the future. We also want to reach consensus and codify the fundamental values of the organization. So, for example, let's get a little more specific with the vision, mission, and values of your healthcare organization. For example, the vision might be something like establishing a profile of tomorrow, what our hope is for the future. The mission statement should be our profile of today, our current products, services, customers, and what our philosophy is for doing business. And lastly, our values should profile our expected behaviors, what our beliefs and ideals are that we're going to be moving forward with in our strategic planning. So, if we break down further what a mission statement should include, this is what we want to do. This is an organizational mission is a broadly defined but relatively enduring statement of purpose that distinguishes our organization from others. So as we are developing that, we want to make sure that our mission statement is clear and concise, concerned with the organization as it exists today, not in the future or the past. We want to make sure that it's specific relative to the products, goods, and services that we are selling to our client base, our patients. We want to make sure that our mission statement gives the appearance of us being an enduring organization. And last but not least, it should be something that underscores the uniqueness of our organization as compared to others. Now, to be able to draw out a strategic thinking map for writing a mission statement, your authors of the textbook have given you an exhibit there where they've got a chart of 6 different things listed under the title of component, and then they've got 3 columns where you can put in a lot of different words that are considered to be keywords that reflect what that component is. So one of the components in coming up with a good mission statement is you might want to include the target customers and clients. In other words, who is your audience? That might be part of the mission statement. You might want to include what your principal services are that are being delivered by your organization. You may want to address in the mission statement the geographical domain of the services that are being delivered. You could also include specific values, your organization's explicit philosophy, or other important aspects that distinguish you from other organizations that work in the same geographic area as you. In other words, you are going to refine the image of your organization through your mission statement. Now, the vision statement is a little bit different. This is an expression of hope. This is a description of what the organization will be like when it is successfully fulfilling its purpose. So as such, we're going to be talking about things that are characteristic and inspiring for the organization. There are going to be people, as people read this vision, it's going to inspire them to think, wow, this place is really great. These people are going places. They really have a game plan for the future. They know what they want to do. So your characteristics of your vision statement should inspire people. It should be challenging. It should be all about excellence and how you're going to practice that. You should demonstrate how you're going to empower your employees first and customers second. And by empowering your employees first, they will have the ability to serve the customer better. Your vision statement is going to allow you to come alive in the details that are not generally seen in broad generalities of an organization like you might see in the mission statement. The vision statement should be memorable and provide guidance, and it by no means should be limited by the present. The vision statement should be characteristic of what the future is going to look like. So again, the authors have done up an exhibit for you, a strategic thinking map for writing a vision statement. Again, they have a column for components and the keywords that reflect those components. So you might want to fill in words that distinguish these components by words that are going to demonstrate what clear hope for the future means. Challenging and about excellence, what 3 words might pertain to that and exhibit that type of language. How do we inspire and show people that we've got emotion as an organization? How do you take that component and describe it in a vision statement? How do you demonstrate your vision statement? What keywords might you use to empower employees first, so that anybody that reads this understands that the employees are really the ones that make this organization tick and help people move forward by passing that on so customers, our patients, can be taken care of appropriately. And last but not least, memorable and providing guidance, keywords that will help us to be memorable and provide guidance in the mission statement. Now, last but not least is our value statement. This is what we want to do. Values are the ideals in the organization and what people stand for. These are fundamental principles that, along with the mission and the vision that we were talking about previously, these are the things that make an organization unique. So simply said, values are the ideals organizations that people stand for, the fundamental principles that, along with the mission, make an organization unique. So what should those characteristics be that we are going to be talking about in determining what the values are going to sound like? When we put them down on paper, they should reflect the organization's culture. The value statement should be consistent with the desired image for which we're trying to portray. It should be a value statement that's acceptable to our stakeholders. So obviously you're going to try to get input from them as you're developing this statement. Obviously it's got to be a statement that is consistent with our vision for the future. And without saying it has to be ethical, and it should represent a clear commitment to the future and what we're going to be doing for our patients relative to strategic planning. So those are the characteristics of a value statement and what you're shooting for. And again, the strategic thinking map is available in your Chapter 5 textbook. The components, there are 6 of them listed there with 3 more columns asking you to put words in there that will describe what a reflecting component might look like. Reflecting component being a desired behavior, organizational norms, shared beliefs, shared assumptions, explicit philosophy, and fundamental principles. So again, you can map this out, and a strategic thinking map will demonstrate what those current keywords will be. Make sure you take some time to take a look at those exhibits in Chapter 5. And then last but not least, and we move into the last section of the text where they talk about managing, Chapter 5 that is, managing strategic momentum, evaluating directional strategies. In other words, the things we were just talking about, the mission, the vision, the values, we have to be able to evaluate these directional strategies. So we're going to be asking ourselves things like, are we not doing some things now that we should be doing? We ask ourselves, are we doing some things now that we should not be doing? Are we doing some things now that we should do, but do in a different way? Are our organization's mission and vision unique in some way? Is our mission relatively enduring? Do our mission and vision allow for innovation? And do our mission and vision allow for expansion? We also want to continue that conversation by asking ourselves some clear-cut questions also that help us to determine what is the scope of operations, making sure that it's clear to us what our products, goods, and services are, who our customers are, what our geographic coverage is. So we ask ourselves that question, is our scope of operations clear? Have we succinctly identified market, products, services, customers, geographic coverage? We ask ourselves, do our mission, vision, and values fit the needs of our stakeholders? In other words, have we talked to them about this and we've gotten their input and their agreement that we're heading off in the right direction as far as these directional strategies go? Do our fundamental values make sense? Our strategic goals moving us toward achievement of our mission? Are our strategic goals moving us toward achievement of our vision? Have we addressed the critical success factors that need to be talked about that are going to make us successful further down the road? And last but not least is the image of the organization, what it should be. And obviously that's what we're trying to establish with developing all these statements. We want people to look at the image that we're trying to portray, grasp onto it and identify with it, because those are the things that are going to bring them in as customers and end up being our patients and helping us to stay afloat. So that essentially is chapter 5 in a nutshell. At the end of the chapter, you have key terms, just like you do in all your other chapters, that you want to focus on to make sure that you have a good understanding of the definition of the terms that are listed there for you. Don't forget that I glossed over information like corporate governing boards. You need to know what that is. But there are some other terms there that go like philanthropic governing boards. But they've got some other terms there that I would like you to hone in on also and try to find the definitions for. And again, this exhibit is found at the end of chapter 5, so it should be easy for you to find. They've got critical success factors, a term called first mover advantage, liability of newness, mission drift, pioneering, strategic goals, values, vision-led approach, all of those things that are going to be important to your understanding of chapter 5. So that is conclusion of chapter 5 and what we're going to be doing this week. Again, I'm very satisfied with all the information I've seen up to date in the first 3 weeks of the course, so keep up the good work. And as usual, if you need to contact me, send me an email. If you need to talk to me in an urgent manner, you've got my telephone number, and my office hours are typically 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. You can get a hold of me on the weekend sometimes, but if you can't, just leave a voicemail and I'll call you back as soon as I can. So good luck with week 4 information in chapter 5, and I will see you next week.